Impact Emergence Night 1 tonight. Access TV, it's the first night of Impact Wrestling's 2-week special known as Impact Emergence. Really excited about this one. This is kind of the halfway point between Slammiversary and Bound for Glory. Of course, Slammiversary happened last month in July. Hugely, widely successful, critically acclaimed pay-per-view event by Impact Wrestling. Impact Wrestling, I've mentioned this probably a million times now on the channel, but Impact Wrestling for the last at least 3 years has been very, very, very good. The product's been very good. It just hasn't got the attention that it's deserved, and that's for a multitude of reasons, whether that is past sins of previous ownerships, fans losing faith back in 2010, 2011, 2013, etc. The idea that it was a dead company, several reasons. There are several reasons, but the product, like I mentioned, for at least for the last 3 years, has been very good. And it's great to see that Impact Wrestling really is getting quite a lot of attention now from fans just watching at home. It's the highest rated program on Access TV. Of course, Anthem owns both Impact and Access TV, but still, that's great. It shows that wrestling can still draw. It's getting massive critical acclaim on social media and a lot more attention on social media. July was the best month that Impact Wrestling has had in terms of YouTube views and subscribers, in terms of social media analytics, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, etc. It was also their best month on Impact Plus, their on-demand streaming service, in terms of new subscribers and sign-ups. And considering that's during a period of time in July, right, we're in the pandemic at the moment, people don't have money to spend. A lot of people are, cable cutting, as they say, or cutting the cable or whatever, because times are tough. You have to pinch the pennies. And yet, Impact Wrestling during this period of time is doing some of their best business that they've done in a long, long time. That speaks volumes to the great work that Impact Wrestling is doing at the moment. So, Slammiversary was widely successful. The next big pay-per-view event is Bound for Glory in October. And I think initially there was a bit of concern, as I know from my point of view there was, what is Impact Wrestling going to do between July and October? Yes, you can tell a lot of stories between them, but there is so much momentum with Impact Wrestling right now. There are so much good things going on that it feels like they needed to take advantage of the positive momentum that they have, and therefore you get Impact Emergence. So you've got Night 1 tonight on the 18th of August, and you've got Night 2 next week on the 25th of August. It's similar to the likes of Fyter Fest and the Great American Bash spread over 2 weeks. It's a great idea. We're going to have great matches. We're going to preview the matches that have been announced for tonight. We'll do another preview next week before next week's show, and I'll give you some of my predictions for those matches going forward. So first match, we have the World Tag Team Championships on the line, the Impact World Tag Team Championships on the line. The new champions, the Motor City Machine Guns, defending against the North after the North are invoking their rematch clause. Rematch clause still exists in Impact Wrestling. They don't exist in some other companies, but they do exist currently in Impact Wrestling. Of course, this is the rematch after the post-Slammiversary edition of Impact Wrestling saw the Motor City Machine Guns defeat the North, ending their record over a 1-year reign of being Impact World Tag Team Champions. That match I really enjoyed. I think this match is going to be better. Of course, the Motor City Machine Guns returned to Impact Wrestling at Slammiversary. They answered the Rascals challenge, and then later on in the show, after the North had defeated Ken Shamrock and Sami Callihan to retain the Impact World Tag Team Championships, the challenge was laid down, which laid the foundation for the match between them both on the post-Slammiversary edition of Impact Wrestling. It's great to have the Motor City Machine Guns back in Impact Wrestling, right? Chris Sabin, Alex Shelley, one of the best tag teams of all time in Impact Wrestling, still can go. I've mentioned this before about Chris Sabin. The fact that Chris Sabin has had ACL injuries, tears, whatever, in both knees on multiple occasions at this point. The fact he is able to just compete alone, but let alone to the high standard that he's able to right now, is just a testament. It really is a testament to his ability, his drive and determination to return. As I mentioned, we did a video on this yesterday previewing this match because I think it's going to be one of the best matches on the show. The Motor City Machine Guns back in Impact Wrestling just adds to what is a really, really solid and good tag team division in Impact Wrestling right now. Obviously, there's been rumours and reports recently about Ethan Page's contract in Impact Wrestling. It was reported last week by WrestleTalk that Ethan Page's contract does indeed expire at the end of the year, with the likes of AEW and other promotions interested in him. Whereas you look at Josh Alexander, he's signed to Impact Wrestling until 2022. He signed a 3-year contract extension in 2019, so he's not going anywhere anytime soon. In terms of a prediction for this match, I mentioned it yesterday. I don't see the Motor City Machine Guns dropping the titles. It doesn't make any sense for me to have such a short title reign unless they're under short-term deals, but as far as I'm aware, they're not. I still think a Motor City Machine Guns versus Good Brothers match it's bound to happen at Bound for Glory. So I'll be interested in that one. But I also want to see the North face against the Good Brothers, especially if Ethan Page is going to be leaving the company at the end of the year. Now, I say if because nothing's been confirmed yet. I'm under the assumption that Ethan Page is just weighing up his options at the moment. There's a high chance he could re-sign with Impact Wrestling. He loves it there. It's where he's been given his big break. Physically at the moment, Ethan Page looks great. Before people start speculating, I don't think the North drop the titles because of Ethan Page's contract expiring. There's still a long way to go between now and the end of the year when Ethan Page's contract expires. The North, for me, best tag team in Impact Wrestling right now in what is a very strong tag team division. So I don't want to see Ethan Page leave Impact Wrestling. I don't want to see the North break up, although I do think Ethan Page is a future world champion. So prediction-wise, I think the Motor City Machine Guns are going to win this one, just because it doesn't make any sense for them to drop the title so quickly. But I do think there are future matches on the cards between the Machine Guns and the Good Brothers, the North and the Good Brothers. Potentially, we could see the Motor City Machine Guns versus the Good Brothers at Bound for Glory. We could also potentially see the North versus the Good Brothers at Bound for Glory. Why not have a triple threat tag team match at Bound for Glory too? There's lots of options here, but I think the Motor City Machine Guns are going to come out of this one on top. Next up, we have another tag team match. We have the Good Brothers going up against Ace Austin and Madman Fulton. Now, the seeds for this one were planted at Slammiversary when the Good Brothers made their Impact Wrestling debut, or in the case of Luke Gallows, his return to Impact Wrestling. The Good Brothers, of course, were heavily rumoured to be going to Impact Wrestling. It was one of the worst kept secrets in professional wrestling at that point. Once their non-compete clause with WWE expired, right at midnight on July 18th, they were announced by Impact Wrestling to have signed with the company. As I mentioned, made their debuts in the main event, or after the main event of Slammiversary, which included Ace Austin. The last two men in the match at Slammiversary for the vacant Impact World Championship was Eddie Edwards, the current Impact World Champion, and Ace Austin. After Eddie Edwards defeated him, you saw a beatdown between Ace Austin and Madman Fulton on Eddie Edwards. The Good Brothers made the save, and then this has laid the seeds for this feud heading into Impact Emergence. We also saw a couple of weeks ago on Impact Wrestling, Ace Austin and Madman Fulton set up Gallows and Anderson for Luke Gallows to be arrested for striking a police officer. We've seen both teams brawl recently on Impact Wrestling too. So this has been a fun introduction feud for the Good Brothers. I'm a really big fan of Ace Austin. I think, again, he's a future world champion. There was a lot of discussion about potentially him becoming the world champion at Slammiversary and becoming the youngest world champion in Impact Wrestling history. Of course, we know that didn't happen, but there's still time to pull the trigger on that. As I mentioned, the Good Brothers are just a massive signing. They're a huge signing for Impact Wrestling, instant credibility. Already they feel like bigger stars than they ever did in WWE, and I don't want to turn this into a let's praise Impact and bash WWE video because that's not my style when it comes to this kind of thing. But the Good Brothers they're huge stars. They're on 2-year deals. They've got a lot of creative freedom to, I'm not going to say do what they want because that's not true. I say creative freedom in terms of being themselves. These are two guys that have huge personalities. If you watch Talkin' Shopomania a few weeks ago, that honestly was the most fun I've had watching a wrestling pay-per-view, if you can call it that, for a long, long time. It was really, really good. And if you listen to their podcasts, the Talkin' Shop podcast, or even back in the day when they did the Chris Jericho podcast, the worst podcasts ever, their personality is huge, and they're able to portray that in Impact Wrestling. And as I mentioned, I think this has been a really fun introduction feud for the Good Brothers. I think it's made Ace Austin look great also. And like I mentioned, I think it's been a great introductory feud for the Good Brothers to debut in Impact Wrestling. Now, we've made a lot of videos also on the Aces and Eights on this channel. I mentioned that either tonight or next week in my opinion, is the last time that they could potentially pull off this Aces and Eights return. Do I think it's going to happen? At this point, I have no idea. It was speculated that they sowed those seeds and did those teases heading into Slammiversary about a possible Aces and Eights return just to get people watching and get people talking, get people guessing. It was a bit of a red herring. We'll find out. I guess the time for waiting is over. We'll find out either tonight or next week. And then if they're not back by then, I don't think they will return. The more that time goes on and it looks less and less likely, I tend to lean on the side of those reports that suggest that it was a red herring. Which, if that is the case, that is a shame. But yeah, they've obviously got plans. I think the Good Brothers would be perfect fit for the Aces and Eights. Of course, Luke Gallows was actually a member, or Doc Gallows was a member of the Aces and Eights originally. Kyle Anderson at one point was the leader of the Bullet Club in New Japan. He's got history with leading factions. It's just an easy fit and it makes a lot of sense, but sometimes these things don't happen. In terms of prediction for this one, I think it would be bizarre if the Good Brothers lost, considering it's their first big match with Impact Wrestling. Of course, they've made their in-ring debuts on some recent episodes of Impact Wrestling on Access TV. But this is the first big match on a television special, so I think it's pretty likely that the Good Brothers win this one. In terms of who do I think will take the fall, probably Madman Fulton, I would assume, to take the fall here. It could easily be Ace Austin, but I think they're going to try and protect him. This was a guy that was in a main event spot at Slammiversary a couple of weeks ago, competing for the world title. I don't think he would take the fall here. So I think Madman Fulton takes the win, and I think takes the fall rather, and I think the Good Brothers come out on top on this one. Next up, we have the Impact X Division Championship on the line in a triple threat match. We have X Division champion Chris Bay defending against TJP and Rohit Raju. Chris Bay, I'm a massive fan on. I think Chris Bay is fantastic. I think he's a great worker. He's got a hell of an upside. When he actually won the X Division Championship at Slammiversary, a video came out of him actually. I don't know if it was a YouTube video or whatever from back in the day, but when he was a kid, he'd bought a replica TNA World Heavyweight Championship, and we'll touch on TNA World Heavyweight Championship in a second. And he was reviewing it, so he's obviously a massive fan of Impact and was a huge fan of TNA back in the day. Very down-to-earth guy, great personality and great in the ring. He is the epitome of, in my opinion, of what the X Division signifies and stands for. I've been a little bit critical of the X Division over the last few weeks, saying that, in my opinion, it's kind of lost its way in Impact Wrestling. Maybe that's just because of the standards that were set so many years ago that I still hold the X Division up to those standards. I think one of the biggest problems with the X Division over the years is that it's just been tampered with so much, and at certain points it became so far removed from what it was intended to originally be. Initially, the X Division, right, it was not about weight limits, it's about no limits. You had people like AJ Styles, Christopher Daniels, Samoa Joe, Kazarian, etc., Amazing Red, really put that division on the map, have great matches. It wasn't a cruiserweight division. It was about having great matches because you had the likes of Samoa Joe in there, who was he was the epitome of the X Division as well. You know, a guy that's well over any weight limit that you want to set. But it was about having great matches, entertaining fans, and having a match on the card that you just couldn't find anywhere else, especially in any other company. And over the years, it evolved and changed in so many wrong directions. At one point, there was a weight limit put on there, which is just, in my opinion, criminal. There was the time where you could only be defended in triple threat matches. Then you had the referee head cam that was on in the X Division matches. And just the good thing is at this point is that it's kind of got back to where it originally was. I just think it's a major unique selling point of Impact Wrestling. It's got heritage, it's got history, and it just needs some added focus. Obviously, that is down to the talent in the division as well. Chris Bay is the type of person that I think they should build the division around. Ace Austin, when he was the X Division champion, was a great X Division champion, but I think he's more ready for the main event scene right now. Trey Miguel, I've mentioned several times, is someone that I want to see back in the X Division. Of course, he's been sort of taken out and moved into a more of a prominent position, a main event position. But I just think he's better suited to the X Division. Having someone like TJP in the X Division is great as well. Obviously, the problem is there, I suppose, is that people are going to compare it with a cruiserweight division because he was previously a cruiserweight champion in WWE. Of course, TJP was previously with Impact before that as Suicide and was it Manic? But I just think it needs added focus. I think it needs a renewed focus and a big recruitment drive to get some different X Division stars in there. I want to see someone the style of Samoa Joe out there. I know there aren't many Samoa Joes out there, but that's why I really liked Willie Mack as the X Division champion, because he was your non-traditional X Division star, but almost traditional in the sense that it didn't matter about his weight and the way he looked, because he could do great things and put on great matches. That's why I really enjoyed Chris Bay versus Willie Mack at Slammiversary and their rematch on Impact Wrestling, because that to me is the epitome of what the X Division should be. It's not about looking like a cruiserweight. It's not about actually maybe even working a match as a cruiserweight or having high spots. It's about having great matches. So in terms of prediction for this one, I think Chris Bay is going to retain here. I think he should have a long title reign. I think he is a big star in the making, especially if you keep him in that X Division. He's someone you can actually really build this division around, in my opinion. So I think Chris Bay wins here. Chris Bay was actually teasing a possible match with Lio Rush on Twitter over the last couple of days. Lio Rush in the X Division would be a perfect addition. Again, you're going to get people going, well, that just confirms that it's a cruiserweight division. It's not, but Lio Rush is the type of caliber person that if I was in charge in Impact Wrestling, that's the person I want to be recruiting to the X Division. People are going to say, well, it's high spots, high flying. Yes, but imagine having Lio Rush versus Willie Mack. That's a money match in the X Division for me. Factor in people like Chris Bay, then you can start having matches. I don't think Chris Bay versus Willie Mack versus Lio Rush is going to top, was it the Unbreakable match between AJ Styles, Samoa Joe and Christopher Daniels by any means, but that's the kind of caliber of athlete and superstar that you need to be adding in to the X Division. So I think Chris Bay wins this one. I think Raju probably takes the fall here, and maybe we have a future feud with Chris Bay and TJP, a future rematch later on down the line. And then finally, we have the last match announced, which is for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. TNA World Heavyweight Champion Moose defends against Trey Miguel. Moose has defended the TNA World Heavyweight Championship against all sorts of competitors in Impact Wrestling. Tommy Dreamer, Hernandez, Falabar, all sorts of names. I've mentioned in the preview video for this match that I was under the assumption that we were going to get Moose versus EC3 at some point, and I thought it was going to be an Impact Emergence. Of course, we've only got actually 2 matches announced for Night 2 so far. We've got Deonna Purrazzo versus Jordan Grace for the Knockouts Championship in a Iron Man match, and we've also got an Eddie Edwards Impact World Championship Open Challenge, which I'm assuming will be answered by Eric Young. So we don't have the full card announced for next week. We'll probably find out the full card for next week tonight on Impact Wrestling on Impact Emergence Night 1. So there is still a possibility that we could have Moose versus EC3 on Night 2. I do think EC3 will get involved somehow in this one, whether it's after the match or during the match. We'll have to wait and see. The Moose versus EC3 match and feud is something they've been building to for a long time. We haven't actually seen EC3 compete inside of an Impact Wrestling ring since he returned to the company at Slammiversary. He's still not listed officially on the roster page. So he's technically not under contract. He is, but they're saying that he's not under contract with the company. He's put his intentions out there, EC3 as well. He's also said that the reason he came back to Impact Wrestling was to win the TNA World Heavyweight Championship, destroy his past, burn it down so he can fully focus on his future, basically remove anything that links him to his past, and that is, of course, the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. He's a 2-time TNA World Heavyweight Champion, so the story makes sense there. So I was surprised that we were getting Moose versus Trey Miguel at Impact Emergence, but I still think we're going to get the Moose EC3 match potentially next week, or maybe they will stretch it out for Bound for Glory. I still think in the main event of Bound for Glory, I would like to see EC3 versus Eddie Edwards, but we'll have to wait and see where Impact is going with that one. Prediction-wise, I think Moose is going to win here. I don't see him dropping the title to Trey Miguel, but like I said, I think there will be some form of interference from EC3 here. I think Moose will retain. Possibly after the match is when we have EC3 once again attack Moose. We'll have to wait and see. There were obviously Moose challenged Suicide to the TNA World Heavyweight Championship match at Impact Emergence. Suicide took the mask off. It was Trey Miguel. Maybe they have a similar thing here where Suicide comes out and he takes off the mask. It's revealed to be EC3. There's lots of different ways they could do this one, but in terms of a prediction, I think Moose wins and retains over Trey Miguel, and I think they continue the Moose versus EC3 feud, potentially announcing the match for next week during Night 2 of Moose versus EC3, or perhaps they stretch it out to Bound for Glory in October. We'll have to wait and see on that one. But what are your predictions for night 1 of Impact Emergence on Access TV? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. I'll be sure to respond and reply to all of your comments and predictions. I really enjoy interacting with you guys on this channel. If you have enjoyed this video, please do give us a like on the like button. It really just helps us out on YouTube, get up the rankings and get into people's recommendation feeds if they haven't seen our videos before. But most importantly, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to Wrestle News 365. You can do this by clicking the bottom right hand corner of the screen right now, or if you wait a few seconds, there'll be a subscribe button at the end of this video along with another video for you to watch. Closing in on 700 subscribers on that long road to 1,000 subscribers. So if you haven't already, please do subscribe. If you have, just know that I really do appreciate everyone that takes the time to watch the videos on this channel, listen to the content that we provide, and I really do appreciate it. You can also follow us on our social media platforms. The handles are on the screen right now. The links are in the description box below. It's at 365Wrestle on Twitter and at WrestleNews365 on Facebook and Instagram. So be sure to give us a like or a follow there if you haven't already. Thank you very much for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. And I'll speak to you again very soon. Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.